attempt from near the middle of the field. For the win. The snap, the hold, the kick by Miles is on the way. It is good! Coyotes win! Coyotes win! Coyotes win! Coyotes win! In double overtime.
Football is a game of peaks and valleys, and Saturday's battle with Weber State had plenty of both. How's everybody doing? I'm Jay Elson, and this is Coyote Corner. Well, since moving into the Dakota Dome in 1979, the Coyotes have been nearly unbeatable in home openers. Saturday, South Dakota sought its 14th straight victory in its 2016 Dakota Dome debut against Weber State. The last time the Wildcats and Coyotes got together, a guy by the name of Joe Glenn led USD in receiving. That was back in 1970. Both teams scored 21 points that day, but Weber State got there real quick this time. First drive of the game, Landon Stice with the pick six, the first of 3 straight turnovers for the Coyotes. Wildcats would lead 21-0 just 6.5 minutes in. South Dakota got the offense going from there. 21-7 now. Chris Strevler on the delayed quarterback draw. No one will catch him. Strevler ran 23 times for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. 28-14 after 1. The scoring surge continued into the second. Strevler to the air this time. Great pitch and catch with Shamar Jackson. 18-yard scoring strike, and South Dakota down just 7 at the half. The Wildcats pull away again in the third. Jadrian Clark looking deep for Darrell Denby. He hauls it in for a 47-yard touchdown. Weber State took a 42-21 lead into the fourth. Back come the Coyotes again, and it started with defense. Adam Harris with his first career INT. It set up a touchdown, which cut the deficit to 14. South Dakota strikes again just a few minutes later. Strevler up top to Brant Van Rukel. That covers 42 yards, and it's a 1-score game. Yotes would get one more chance to complete the comeback, and they do on 4th and 13. Strevler to Jackson again. We'd go to overtime, tied at 42. Jackson wasn't done. Coyotes got the ball first, and 13 makes his 3rd touchdown grab of the day to give USD its first lead, 49-42. Weber State answered to force a second OT, but they would not score this time. Taylor Hintz wide right from 36 yards away. That gave the Coyotes a chance to win it, and Miles Bergner would not disappoint. The senior connects from 34 yards away, and South Dakota escapes Weber State 52-49 in double overtime. The Coyotes outgained the Wildcats 491 to 373, with over 60% of that coming on the ground. Trevor Bama carried a career-high 36 times for 150 yards. Strevler, meanwhile, accounted for 298 total yards and 6 touchdowns on the day, as USD evens its record at 1-1.
Just got a group of guys who's just never going to stop fighting, and that was just something that obviously showed today. And I felt like we did last week. Didn't show up as much in the score last week, but I still felt like it was a positive. And just to be with a group of guys who's not going to get down and stay positive and never give up or never lose belief. It's really fun and exciting.
Last week we know we can score quick, and then coming into this game we shot ourselves in the foot. We got down, and our coach kept telling us, "Yeah, we can score in 10 seconds. We score in 10 seconds." We never let up, and as the game kept going on, we kept fighting and clawing back.
I don't think there's any point that guys were chirping at each other or even hanging their heads after we got down by 21 twice. So it shows a lot about our team's character, and we knew that our offense had the ability to score some points, and we just stuck in it, and look what happened.
Well, there was nothing typical about the win over Weber State. Find out how the head coach felt about his team's performance against the Wildcats after this.
Coyote Corner on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, and your Core Trust Bank.
And welcome back to Coyote Corner. Jay Elson joined by head coach of the Coyotes, Bob Nielsen now. And no one had a better seat for Saturday's thrilling win over Weber State than this guy right here. And he joins us now to talk about that victory. Bob, I'm not sure calling it a rough start is quite strong enough a term. Wow. 3 straight turnovers to start the game. It led to 21 points, of course, for Weber State. Have you ever been a part of something like that where that quickly you fell in that big of a hole?
No, honestly, I haven't. Things couldn't have gone much worse. To give up 21 points as easily as we did, and that's what made getting back into the game such a big deal for our guys.
And when you get into a situation, again, that big of a hole that quickly, how difficult is it to not panic and to stick to the plan that you had coming into the game?
Well, you're exactly right. You can't panic. A lot of time left in the game, and you need obviously to put some things together and keep your guys confident that they can still win the football game. And that first drive after we gave up the third touchdown really was big to put points on the board and get some momentum going back our way.
Yeah, momentum was the key. The offense did get it going. In fact, they ended up putting touchdowns on the board on 3 straight possessions, and that allowed you to get within 7 by the half. So all things considered, how did you feel going into the break?
Well, it felt good going into halftime. Felt like we had dominated the game since the early minutes there with the 2 turnovers that we gave up for touchdowns. And our guys had a lot of confidence that we could move the football and score points going into the second half.
All that momentum that you established, though, going into the break, kind of lost in the third quarter. Weber State puts together those 2 scoring drives to open that lead back up to 21. I'm sure that was a little deflating, but your job as the head coach, obviously, again, to collect everybody, coaching staff included. What did you say to everyone going into that last frame? Did you feel like you were still in the game at that point?
Well, when we got down by 21 again, I did click over on the headsets and talk to our guys about, hey, we've got to keep our composure here and keep our guys battling and knew we needed something to happen and finally generating a turnover ourselves there with Adam Harris's interception and getting us good field position that we were able to get the ball in the end zone. All of a sudden you could see a switch go on again, and our guys started believing that we had a chance to win and then found a way to do it at the end.
Yeah, when you're in a deficit like that, you have to believe, right? And is that something that you've noticed through the first couple of weeks of your season, that the guys really, Chris Strevler's really hammered that home with me the first couple of weeks, is that this team does not quit. And is that kind of a character thing that you've noticed as well?
Well, we started the spring talking about 2 characteristics that our football team has to have, and one is that we've got to believe, and we've got to believe in each other, and we've got to believe together that we can accomplish things. And the second piece is effort. That's one thing that you can always control, is you can always control your effort, and I think our effort showed during critical times in that game.
Especially the fourth quarter, 21 straight points to force the overtime. Then, of course, Miles Bergner comes on to kick the game winner in that second overtime session. Always fun to win a game on the last play, but this victory and the way that you got it, what can that do for your football team?
Well, I hope it builds our confidence. Builds our confidence that we can deal with adversity as a football team. It's hard to teach those lessons until you've actually been in a game where you've overcome them. It also, hopefully demonstrates, you talk about winning games in this league, and you have to be able to finish games at the end and make critical plays. And we were able to do that on Saturday, and so hopefully that's something that we can build off as well.
Now that you've had a little time to digest everything, I know coming into this game, one of the things that you said you wanted to see was improved play defensively. And some might think it's silly to talk about defense when it was a game that ended 52-49 and there were 864 combined yards of total offense. But I thought outside of a couple of big scoring plays for the Wildcats that group seemed to take a step forward. Do you agree with that?
I think we made some improvement. We still didn't play the way that I think we're capable of playing defensively. We put our defense in a bad position and gave up 2 scores on offense, and that's got to be something that we correct. But defensively, I know our staff was disappointed in some respects and feel like we can play better, and this will be a challenge this week to play better.
Offensively now, you had another big day on the ground, and the quarterback run a huge part of it once again. Trevor Bama, 150 yards on 36 carries. But you also got the wide receivers more involved, and that's another thing that you said you wanted to do in this football game. 3 different guys caught touchdown passes for you, including 3 from Shamar Jackson. Why was he in particular so successful in this game?
Well, the slots in our offense lots of times are going to get matched up in favorable man-to-man matchups, and that's what happened on Saturday as teams had to load the box to stop the running game. So we need those slot guys to be able to get open against safeties and those interior throws that we got a couple of times there. are throws that we're going to have to be good at if we're going to be a complete offensive football team.
And it seems to be, in this offense, we've heard a lot about guys stepping up when it's their turn to make a play. And that seems to be exactly what Shamar did. So is he just kind of driving home the point that you're trying to get installed into your guys that, hey, your number's going to be called, and when it is, we need you to go out there and get it done?
Well, part of being a good offensive football team is you've got to find ways to be able to distribute the football to a variety of people, and it may be a game where you're not one of those people that gets the ball a lot, and it may be a game that you are. And so I think that's a perfect example of a guy who stepped up at the right time and made plays.
Well, I hope you were able to enjoy it just a little bit. Probably a little tough on the ticker at times, certainly, but those games are fun. They're few and far between, so then again, maybe that's kind of a good thing from a cardio standpoint. All right, well, stay tuned, folks. When we come back, we're going to put a bow on our coverage of that win over Weber State with help from Midco SN analyst Andre Field. Saturday storylines coming up next.
We've seen how the thrilling win over Weber State unfolded. Now it's time to consider the why. What things contributed most to the game's outcome? And for more on that, we bring in Midco SN analyst Andre Fields. It's time for Saturday's storylines. Character counts, Andre. And the Coyotes had theirs tested in a big way. They fell behind by 21 points on 2 different occasions, but they never crumbled. Now, we've heard what some of the players had to say about this already, but I want your thoughts on this. What does this tell you about this football team?
Well, the first thing it tells me, Jay, is that they've bought in, or they are buying into what Coach Nielsen brought in the offseason, at least offensively, and I would say probably for the whole entire team. They know that they can score fast. They know that as long as they continue to be themselves offensively, and I guess in this case defensively, that they're going to be able to be in a lot of these ball games. You don't get a lot of that usually right away. It takes a while for the new regime to kind of get their roots settled in, but I think by coming back from 21 twice, it showed that they already believe in what they're building here at USD.
What's it say about the quarterback?
Definitely says that he is going to be the guy that they can lean on. He took a lot of shots, but he kept coming back. 106 offensive plays, and to not let anyone on the team, offensively or defensively, get down when they fall behind by 21 very, very early in the game. It just showed that, hey, they can rally behind him and know that he's capable of getting things done.
Absolutely. All right, well, the Coyote defense got kicked around a bit at New Mexico, so a lot of people curious to see how that group would respond in this one. There were a few rough patches here. They gave up the long touchdown run to Trayshawn Garrett, those back-to-back scoring drives in the third quarter. Outside of that, though, I thought they were markedly better. Now, the caliber of the opponent certainly probably played into that, but how encouraged were you by what you saw out of that group on Saturday?
Defensively, outstandingly encouraged because they made some plays in the secondary, and we had mentioned that we thought that was kind of one of their weak spots is on the back end. But up front, they were able to contain that running attack of Weber State, and the fact that they were able to also not let themselves get down and rebound from 21 points down twice shows that they are, right on track.
And it wasn't their fault that they were in that hole, so let's get it straight that way, too. All right, well, the defense was particularly good down the stretch, Andre, but the Coyotes collectively were actually at their best in this game when it mattered most. They made several clutch plays on both sides of the football, and that ultimately is what fueled this improbable comeback down the stretch.
Yeah, being able to get timely turnovers from Adam Harris in the secondary, hands-on balls. They actually were able to get some balls on the ground, although they weren't able to get a lot of them as fumble recoveries, but picking up the third downs when they needed it. Those are the plays that you need to build your confidence, to build that resolve, and hopefully they can carry this momentum on into the rest of the season.
Got to the quarterback a little bit too. Just really, it was a lot of give and take on both sides, and it was good to see. All right, well, speaking of clutch, we've got to talk about Shamar Jackson. The sophomore came into the day with no career touchdown catches. He now has 3, plus a career-high 81 yards on Saturday. But before we get your thoughts on his performance, let's hear what Chris Strebler had to say about the effort of his wide receiver.
When you get your opportunity, you got to take advantage of it, and I think that's what he did today. I mean, they played a lot of man, a lot of press. I mean, he got off the press and made plays, and that's something I love to see. Guy who doesn't have any touchdown passes, it doesn't matter. He's going to make plays for you. He's going to fight, and I think that's a good message to everyone on the team. That you never know when your opportunity is going to come. Could come today, could come week 11. You never know.
That's really what it's about, Andre. I mean, the coaches can put these players in position to be successful, but those guys then have to go out and get the job done. Shamar Jackson got it done. He grew up a lot.
Yeah, he absolutely did. He got it done when it counted most, catching those 3 timely touchdowns when they needed them the most. I mean, this is a kid that we saw make plays last year offensively in the reverse game, out of the backfield. So we knew that he was explosive, and we knew he could get things like this done. We never seen him catching the ball, but I think going forward now, not only is it going to boost his confidence, it's going to boost confidence in the other guys offensively, that they know that they have a man that they can go to that's capable of getting the job done.
And just another weapon potentially, and an offense that's proven to be pretty explosive through the first couple of weeks. So that's certainly a good sign. All right, good stuff, Andre. Well, football brought South Dakota and Weber State together on Saturday, but was the effort outside the stadium that linked those programs in a much more important way. We're going to have that story next. And welcome back. Well, football is a game of entertainment. The hard hits, big plays, thrilling wins, and of course, some tough losses. But it also provides a platform for opponents to come together when another is in need. For more on the Brotherhood beyond the field, here's Kelly Stewart.
The Brotherhood, as they call themselves, is a group of former University of South Dakota football players that annually brings in the most recent collection of graduates as kind of a football fraternity. They're known for tackling causes that help out the football program and also actively participating in a variety of USD alumni events. As proud alums, they're all about the Coyotes, but this past week, the Brotherhood extended their efforts to help out the opponent. After watching the Yotes in New Mexico, Dave Hultgren, a Hall of Famer defensive end for South Dakota from 1975 to 78, was researching the Weber State football team. He found out more than just their win-loss record and stats from their first game of 2016 at Utah State.
And the story came up about Sarah Hill, who is the wife of head coach Jay Hill. And Sarah got diagnosed on August 24th with stage 4 Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Instantly, Hultgren knew exactly who he could call on to help.
Knowing who our Brotherhood is and how they feel about life and helping people, I reached out and I said, what do you think? You think we should take this on to a fundraiser?
The response was a unanimous yes, so the Brotherhood took action, creating a GoFundMe page on Tuesday of the Weber State game week and also collecting funds during Saturday's tailgate.
College football is a unique platform that we can do just some things that you couldn't do if it wasn't the game going on today. And you know, Coach Hill, I'm sure, played college football. We all played college football. We respected our coaches. They sacrificed a lot as coaches for against their family time because they're recruiting, keeping their team together.
And while the Hills and their 4 children are tackling quite a bit during this football season, they remain very optimistic. Sarah had Jay shave her head at an annual team barbecue, and players showed support in shaving their heads too. In the season of hard hits, a lot of people have the Hills back.
I think the bottom line at the end of the day is, you know, we're going to try and beat Weber State in football, but the bottom line is I think if we had our choice, we want Sarah to beat cancer.
An extremely touching story that just reminds us it's more than football. But what a neat thing that sports can bring people together from all parts of the country. And Jay, the Brotherhood set a $5,000 goal for the fundraising, but I talked to Dave Hultgren after the game, and the final number exceeded $10,000 for the Hill family.
That is outstanding. Good on you, Kyle fans. All right, well, up next for USD, a reunion with one of their oldest rivals. We'll preview this week's non-conference finale at North Dakota when we come back.
Coyote Corner on Midco Sports Network is presented by Sanford Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, Dakota Land Honda, and your Core Trust Bank.
For the first time in almost 5 years, South Dakota and North Dakota will come face-to-face on a football field, a meeting that is set for this Saturday in Grand Forks. And for more on that matchup, we bring in Alex Heinert, who covers the Fighting Hawks for us here at Midco Sports Network. Alex, after nearly making the playoffs last year, UND came into this season with some high hopes, but Bubba Schweigert's team is 0-2 after narrow losses to Stony Brook and Bowling Green. So what's the morale like within that program right now?
Honestly, I think the morale is pretty good, about as good as it could be considering they are 0-2 at this point in the season. This team did have high expectations after a 7-4 campaign. They were ranked by pretty much every publication going into the season, and so losing at Stony Brook and losing at Bowling Green are tough to take, but certainly coming off a narrow 1-point loss against an FBS opponent and a team that was the defending MAC champions, nothing wrong about that. This team has high hopes for this week at South Dakota. I think morale is actually pretty good.
Now the North Dakota offense, led by sophomore running back John Santiago. This guy's rushed for 100 yards or more in 10 of his first 13 career games. What makes him such a special player?
I think Santiago is a special player, first of all. He's a great blend at the running back spot of great straight line speed, but he also has such shiftiness. He is so quick, he can make the first man miss just about every time he touches the football. And even though he's only 5'9", 180, 185 or so, there's a lot of power there. A great stiff arm from this kid. He just has a knack for finding the hole and hitting pay dirt. He is really, really fun to watch and can go for a big one at any time.
Finally, what's the approach for UND in this game? A lot will be made about the rivalry, but do the Fighting Hawks see this as a must-win regardless of who they're playing?
I think it is. I mean, this is a team that their motto is, hey, we're going to take things day by day, week by week, and so every game is obviously the biggest game on their schedule. But now, staring at 0-3 if you don't win this game against the Coyotes, it is a huge game, and obviously a big rivalry game as well. But they want to open up their home season with the win, and then going into a tough road game against Montana State, they want to have a little momentum, and a victory over South Dakota would certainly do that.
All right, thank you, Alex. South Dakota again visits North Dakota Saturday afternoon in Grand Forks. Kickoff is scheduled for 4 p.m. at the Alaris Center, and you can see that game right here on Midco SN. All right, that is our time for this week. For Kelly Stewart, I'm Jay Elson. We'll see you back here next Wednesday night for another episode of Coyote Corner.